This is Lieutenant Cade Vasquez of the Earth Defense Fleet. If you're receiving this message, static. A deep rumble shakes the transmission. Something groans, low and unnatural. Olympus Mons is waking up, and we were never supposed to be here. Another sound cuts through. Distant screams. Gunfire. Then silence. The sky over Mars burns. The red dust storms swirl violently, covering the sky in a permanent blood-colored haze. Below, at the base of Olympus Mons, a fleet of Earth's warships hovers, their metallic hulls reflecting the weak Martian sunlight. Their guns are trained downward, not at the ground, not at an enemy they can see, but at something beneath the surface, something moving. The ground is breaking. Seismic scanners flicker with erratic readings. The ground trembles. Cracks splinter through the surface. Drones deployed into the lower caverns of the volcano send back distorted images, massive tunnels, strange bioorganic structures, walls pulsating like they're alive. Then, one final transmission. A blurry image of something tall. Moving, watching, a sound. Not words, not speech, just a clicking noise. Then, static. A mission. Doomed to fail. Earth's generals hesitate. Should they send troops in? Should they fire now and destroy the volcano before it fully awakens? But it's already too late. Something is coming. Something ancient. Something that remembers. And this time, it won't let humanity escape. Is this the end of Mars? Or just the beginning of something worse? For centuries, Olympus Mons was thought to be just a volcano, the tallest in the entire solar system, a relic of Mars' violent past, a mountain of dust and dead rock. But we were wrong. It was never just a volcano. It was something else. Something waiting. Olympus Mons. The sleeping giant Olympus Mons isn't just big, it's a giant. It towers 26 kilometers high, 3 times the height of Mount Everest. It's so massive that if you stood at the base, you wouldn't even see the summit. The horizon would curve before your eyes could reach it. For centuries, scientists believed Olympus Mons was a dead volcano, but deep scans told a different story. The seismic activity never truly stopped. The caverns beneath it stretched deeper than any volcano should. The heat signatures, too controlled, too unnatural. Something beneath the surface was producing energy. Something alive. At first, no one noticed. No one cared. Until the disappearances began. The lost missions over the last 20 years, Olympus Mons had swallowed more explorers than any other region on Mars. Mining teams vanished without a trace. Drones stopped transmitting the moment. They entered the lower caverns. The last team to attempt a surface scan. They sent back only one message before disappearing forever. We are not alone. That's when Earth's military got involved. The warning signs, the United Terran Government, UTG, ordered a full lockdown of the volcano. No civilian missions. No scientific research, only military surveillance. They installed high-orbit scanners around the volcano, monitoring every movement. Watching. Listening. At first, nothing happened. For 5 years, Olympus Mons was quiet. Then, one night, every scanner in orbit failed at the same time. Mars's most advanced satellites went completely blind, and that's when the ground started to shake. Earth's response. The arrival of the fleet. The UTG didn't wait. They mobilized their fleet. 5 warships deployed to Mars orbit. 12 battalions of Space Marines were sent to Olympus Mons. High-powered artillery, plasma turrets, EMP launchers, and orbital railguns were pointed directly at the volcano. They expected a scientific anomaly, a minor volcanic disturbance. What they found was something else. It started with the tremors. Then, a deep, guttural sound. Low, vibrating, almost like breathing. The soldiers stationed at the volcano's base heard it first. Then the ground split open. What came out wasn't lava. It was them, the Xiphos. The same aliens that had nearly wiped out humanity during the war for Mars. Only now, they weren't attacking in small groups, they weren't hiding, they were awake and they were coming. The soldiers on the ground opened fire. The warships above locked their weapons. The battle for Olympus Mons had begun. But what no one realized, yet the volcano wasn't just waking up, it was about to erupt. And when it does, nothing will survive. The Xyphos didn't just crawl out of the volcano, they poured out like a flood, like an unstoppable wave. And for the first time in history, Earth's forces were not the hunters, they were the hunted. The moment the ground split open, the war began. The first wave of Xyphos came out fast. Their clawed limbs dug into the red dust, their glowing bioluminescent eyes locking onto the first human targets. Then, they charged. Space Marines opened fire. Their pulse rifles burned red hot, but the Xyphos kept coming. Turrets unleashed plasma, rounds from defensive bunkers, melting the first attackers. Warships above rained down orbital strikes, blasting massive craters into the battlefield. And yet, the Xyphos didn't stop. They moved like a swarm, coordinated, synchronized like a single mind was controlling them. Within minutes, they overran the first defensive line. Soldiers screamed. One by one, the gunfire fell silent. The horror unfolds, the row. Fleet Commander Admiral Royce watched from above. He had expected a battle. He had not expected a massacre. They're not attacking randomly, he realized. They're hurting us. The Xyphos weren't just killing. They were pushing humanity back, toward the volcano, toward something waiting inside. Olympus Mons is not just a volcano. The scientists at Mars Command, monitoring deep seismic scans, detected something terrifying. The Xyphos weren't just emerging, they were triggering the volcano. The core temperature was rising fast. The pressure levels were beyond anything recorded before. If Olympus Mons erupted at full force, it wouldn't just be a natural disaster. It would be a planetary-level extinction event. This isn't a volcano, it's a weapon. The countdown to catastrophe Mars Command issued an immediate evacuation order, but it was already too late. The fleet's only escape route, the launch pads at Horizon Outpost, was already under attack. If they couldn't hold the line, no one was leaving Mars, and the eruption was minutes away. The last line of defense with no retreat, no reinforcements, and a planet about to tear itself apart, humanity had one last hope, a final stand. The remaining Space Marines dug in, setting up a kill zone around the volcano. The fleet's last warship, in orbit, the Humans Valor, turned its cannons toward Olympus Mons, ready to fire everything it had. And deep inside the volcano, one last mission was underway. A team of elite engineers and demolition experts were about to go where no human had ever gone before. Inside the heart of Olympus Mons, their mission? To destroy the volcano before it could destroy Mars. The eruption was seconds away. The Xyphos were surrounding the last survivors. The fleet was preparing for the ultimate sacrifice. The fate of Mars hung in the balance. This is it. Do or die. Olympus will rise or Olympus will fall. The battle above Olympus Mons was lost. The ground forces were overwhelmed. The fleet had minutes before they were overrun. But underground, a different kind of war was about to begin. A team of 6 was sent into the heart of the volcano. Their mission, to destroy Olympus Mons before it destroyed Mars. He descent into the abyss. The cavern entrance was a gaping wound in the Martian crust, cut open by the Xyphos as they emerged. 6 soldiers. 1 shot at survival. All right, move. Stay close. No lights unless absolutely necessary. They repelled. Down into the darkness, their boots barely making a sound on the smooth obsidian-like rock. As they descended deeper, their helmets picked up heat signatures. Something massive was pulsing beneath them. A deep vibration hummed through the rock. Not lava. Something alive. Command, we have a problem. This isn't just a volcano, it's a nest. The hive below Olympus. They landed on solid ground, the cavern stretching into a massive bioorganic tunnel, twisting in unnatural patterns. The walls pulsed like veins, The air was thick, damp, and smelled like decay. Keep moving. We set the charges and we get out, but then a noise, a low clicking sound. It started far away, then closer, and then everywhere. The Xiphos were already waiting. The first attack came from above. A Xiphos dropped from the ceiling, claws outstretched. Corporal Dax fired first, his pulse rifle burning a hole through its skull. Another Xiphos leapt from the darkness. Sergeant Lane took it down with a plasma grenade. Then the walls came alive. Xiphos warriors poured out of the tunnel, climbing over each other, moving like a wave of nightmares. Weapons free. Light 'em up. Gunfire. Screams. The cavern exploded in chaos, but they had a mission. Through the chaos, Lieutenant Vasquez pushed forward, leading them toward the reactor core. The truth about Olympus. Mons, as they fought their way deeper, they saw it, a massive structure embedded in the rock. Not natural, not Martian. It was a ship, buried beneath millions of years of volcanic rock. Olympus Mons was never a volcano. It was a containment zone, a prison. The Xiphos weren't invading, they were escaping. Command, do you hear this? This isn't just a nest. This is a damn tomb. But it didn't matter. They still had a job to do. The countdown had already begun. The team reached the control chamber, setting the final charges. 5 minutes until detonation. No chance to escape in time. Vasquez looked at the others. Go. Get. Out of here, that's an order. Sir, we're not leaving. That's a damn order. The team hesitated, then ran. As Vasquez stood alone, he activated the last detonator. The Xiphos rushed toward him. He smiled. You want Mars? Come and take it. Then he hit the switch. Olympus Mons collapses. The explosives ignited. A chain reaction ripped through the tunnels, collapsing the hive, the ship, everything. From above, the fleet saw a shockwave of fire and ash explode from Olympus Mons. The ground cracked open, swallowing entire Xiphos swarms into the abyss. The sky turned black. The volcano was dead, and so were the Xiphos. The fleet watched from orbit. Mars was still standing. The Xiphos were gone. But as the dust settled, one question remained. Was this truly the end, or was something else still buried beneath the surface? Mars stands. But at what cost? The battle was won, but humanity had paid the price. The ground was littered with bodies, both human and alien. The Martian sky, once a dull red, was now blackened with smoke and ash. The survivors? The last battalions of Earth's space marines, scarred, battered, barely standing. The fleet above, now missing 3 of its warships, reduced to a skeleton crew, and the few engineers and scientists who had made it out of the volcano alive. Among them, only 5 soldiers from Vasquez's original team. Vasquez himself was gone. They watched as the crater where Olympus Mons once stood continued to smolder. No movement, no signs of life. Had they done it? Had they truly wiped out the Xiphos? A voice. From the ashes, just as the fleet prepared to leave, something pinged on their comms. A signal. Weak. Distorted. It was coming from deep inside the collapsed ruins of Olympus Mons. The crew stared at their screens. A voice crackled through the static. It was Vasquez. Is anyone? Copy. A silence filled the bridge. Impossible. No one could have survived that blast. They're still here. It wasn't just them. Mars is not ours. And then, static. The signal went dead. The truth. No one wanted to hear. The fleet commander stood frozen. If Vasquez was still alive, that meant something else had survived too. And if Olympus Mons wasn't just a volcano, then what else was buried beneath the Martian surface? The war wasn't over. It was just the beginning. As the fleet turned toward Earth, the last survivors looked back at Mars. A dead planet, a graveyard. And yet, beneath its surface, something was still breathing. And one day, it will wake up again. Mars was quiet again. For the first time in centuries, there were no battles, no gunfire, no screaming. Just the wind, just the dust, just silence. But was it truly over? The cost of victory Olympus Mons was gone. The volcano had collapsed in on itself, taking the Xiphos hive with it. No more tunnels, no more alien swarms, and yet Earth's forces were decimated. The fleet, once the pride of humanity, was barely operational. The colonies on Mars, abandoned. There weren't enough survivors to rebuild. The truth? Buried. The United Terran Government, UTG, would never admit what had really happened. To the rest of humanity, Mars would be labeled a failed experiment. No further missions, no more colonization, just a dead world, left to the dust. The last secret of Olympus, Mons, but then, Vasquez's last message. It haunted the survivors. It haunted Earth's generals. It wasn't just them. Mars is not ours. What had he seen in those last moments? What else was buried beneath the surface? Because if Olympus Mons was a containment zone, then that meant the Xiphos hadn't built it. Someone else had. Someone far older. Someone watching. The fleet left, Mars behind. The dust settled, and beneath it, something still stirred, something waiting. Because one day, humanity would return, and when they did, Mars would be ready. And this time, we won't be the conquerors. We will be the prey. Mars may be quiet now, but for how long? If Olympus Mons wasn't just a volcano, if something else is buried beneath the surface, what does that mean for humanity's future? What do you think? Was the war truly over? Did humanity win, or just delay the inevitable? And the most important question of all, if Mars wasn't ours to begin with, who was here before us?